As if he couldn't disrupt this NATO meeting more, President Trump, briefing reporters on Air Force One soon after taking off for Holland, cast doubt on the central tenet of NATO membership. He was asked about Article 5, which commits each NATO member to come to the defence of any member under attack.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
It depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5, you know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friends. You know, I've become friends with many of those leaders.
NATO summit security has never been higher than it is here at The Hague. The Middle East conflict has upstaged a focus NATO wanted on rearming this military alliance to fend off Russian aggression. Before he'd even landed, President Trump managed another embarrassment, tweeting out a private and ingratiating text from the NATO Secretary-General, Mark Rutte. It said, "Your decisive action in Iran was truly extraordinary. It makes us all safer. You are flying into another big success in The Hague. We've got them all signed into 5%. That was a reference to the central agenda item at this summit, getting nearly every NATO member to agree to a new higher share of GDP spending by 2035, long a demand of President Trump's. Keir Starmer, visiting British and Dutch troops in Rotterdam, said he was signing up to the new commitment. A 1% of GDP hike in defence spending. That's 5 times bigger than the hike announced to fanfares earlier this year when money was squeezed from the aid budget to fund defence. This hike comes with no current funding plans. The NATO commitment that you've signed up to, the one on hard kit and personnel alone, means something like £43 billion annual of extra spending. People might be scratching their heads and saying, well, what's the difference between that unfunded spending commitment on defence and the black hole, which you used to talk about all the time?
When we increase defence spending to 2.5% in 2027-28, that's the commitment I made earlier this year. That was the biggest sustained increase in defence spending since the Cold War. And I made a point of explaining exactly where the money was coming from. In that particular case, the overseas development aid budget. And now we will move on. We've always said an ambition for 3% in the next Parliament. The contribution that we are making today is 5% by 2035, with a review in 2029 as the component parts of that.
A Russian strike against a Ukrainian passenger train in Dnipro contributed to 17 killed in Ukraine this morning. President Zelensky is here, but his role is diminished compared with past gatherings. The shared project of NATO leaders don't provoke Donald Trump, don't challenge him, and hope that minimises his disruption. Is the world a safer place for the 12-day war, as Donald Trump has called it? And does it matter in this new era of new threats if a war is legal or illegal? You notably haven't decided which this is.
Well, I think the most important thing has been to argue for de-escalation, which is the constant argument I've been making. And we got to a ceasefire in the early hours of this morning. That is a good thing.
His words, like the whole agenda here, dancing around the American president, whose capacity to destroy a well-planned summit is now well established.
Well, earlier here in The Hague, I caught up with a series of European foreign ministers and the NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, who professed himself pleased with what the summit had so far achieved. Have you got a proper agreement on the 5%? Because it looks like some countries are wriggling out of it.
I don't think so. I think it's really okay. Yes, I'm really happy.
Is it okay enough with Donald Trump?
Oh yes, I think there's general agreement around the table with the 32 at the ambassadors level last Sunday. So that is the North Atlantic Council. Yes, very positive.
But has Europe done what America wanted and stepped up to the plate?
We are not doing it because of the audience of one. We are doing it because we have the Russian threat, which is real, which is long-term, and we can only fight that threat if we spend enough.
Don't fiddle the figures is my message to each and every country, even to my own country. So basically, we have to take the threat that Russia is posing seriously. And I'm pretty sure that each and every country is doing that. So,
but Trump's back on board with NATO, is he?
Russia, well, absolutely. Trump is back on board with Russia, with NATO, and essentially what NATO stands for. And I think he's exactly right when he says that Europe needs to spend more.
Bit of a Freudian slip there, though, but forgivable, given that Trump has been quite friendly to Russia in the White House, hasn't he? I mean, some of his opponents say he's actually a Russian asset. What do you say to them?
We Europeans, we tried the appeasement strategy. We tried that over so many years. Even after Putin had taken Crimea, we put on some sanctions, but still we kept on trading with Russia. We even started to build a new gas pipeline with Russia, right? Nothing worked. Russia is only deterred by true and credible power, and that is now what we are building.
And as for Ukraine's place in NATO, NATO's official position is that in the future their place is in NATO, but how far in the future? When would you like to see them admitted?
It's difficult to put a date on it, but certainly we want to have Ukraine in NATO and not outside of NATO. Ukraine has one of the, I would say the most powerful army in Europe now as we speak. They have a very strong defense industry, which is one of the most competitive ones now, and it's becoming stronger by the day. Of course, we want our Ukrainian friends in NATO, and also I think there's a moral imperative to that because the people of Ukraine have decided to join the free world, so we definitely have to assist them in reaching that goal one day.
Is Donald Trump still helping Russia? I mean, people are still saying he's Russia's biggest asset in the White House.
I think that President Trump is putting efforts to negotiate about peace in Ukraine. But of course we have to understand that peace shouldn't be like a short break for Russia to rearm, to regroup and to start attacking again. It should be long-lasting and just peace. All those people who are responsible for attacking peaceful citizens, all those people who are putting people in jails for their opinion, they should be brought to accountability because system of justice should work.
Well, I also managed to gauge reaction here to Donald Trump's expletive-laden anger about the hostilities between Iran and Israel. Speaking first to the British Defence Secretary John Healey and then Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who serves on the Congressional Foreign Relations Committee. Mr. Healey, Donald Trump says Israel and Iran don't know what they're doing. Is he right? Do Iran and Israel know what they're doing? You heard what the president said. What did you think?
We're concentrating on the NATO business, historic commitments that we'll make to stepping up European security through NATO. That'll be our capabilities, it'll be our funding.
Is it a real 5% though?
Shared in stronger European security.
Is it a real 5%? What do you think of Donald Trump's comments on Israel and Iran?
Well, I've just seen them a moment ago. Striking.
That's one word for it.
Striking. It suggests that he is enormously frustrated with how challenging it is to get both countries to stop fighting. I'm glad that he's coming to the NATO summit because American engagement and American leadership in NATO is essential. And we have all of our NATO allies stepping forward to invest in our shared security. And so this is a moment for steady, reasoned American leadership. Well, bluntly, I'm hoping that's what he'll deliver here.
I mean, Donald Trump said he doesn't know what the Iran and Israel are doing. What do you...
Got it. I'm not going to try and explain the president's quote.